teaching have you stressed? Need to laugh off that disaster of a parent-teacher conference? Ready to indulge in those I wish I could say that moments? You're in luck, because you've just pressed play on the top-rated teacher comedy podcast on the planet. It's time for Crying in My Car, a podcast for teachers. Here's your host, the teacher comedian himself, Devin Siebold.
Hey-o, Crying in My Car, a podcast for teachers. My name is Devin Siebold, and it's good to have you all listening. I appreciate you. Thanks for joining in. How you been, buddy?
I'm good.
Doing all right. We got my good buddy, co-host, Mr. Greg, the Angry Texan Parrot, in the house. Don't forget, you can subscribe on Patreon, patreon.com/cryinginmycar. Just so you're aware, it's $2.99 a month, or you can just get the whole year for like $30 and you're in. You get bonus episodes. There was 2 bonus episodes posted in the last 2 weeks. You get the videos ahead of time. The video that's going out tomorrow is already on the Patreon. The Patreon users get to watch it, comment on it ahead of time. You get tickets to live shows. There's a big tour announcement coming up that you're going to want to be a part of. You know, there's a lot of things in there. I've done Zooms where I've given away t-shirts and stickers and magnets. It's well worth the $2.99.
And there's stuff that we talk about on the Patreon episodes that we don't tell other people.
Oh, yes, you're absolutely right. And also, if you're listening to this on the streaming or watching it on YouTube or whatnot, you're going to get an ad. You don't get ads on the Patreon bonus episodes. Those don't come with ads. They're ad free. They're just us talking. So some pretty cool insider stuff. Now, I have to start off with, I know there's a lot of teachers out there that are big pet people. I posted online, show me your pets, and I get the most adorable pet pictures. I have to say, though, I think I have everyone topped because I have a new addition to the family.
Oh, here we go.
Have you seen it?
Yes.
You have, haven't you? And and I say it, but it's not an it. It's the most adorable dog that I've ever seen in my entire life. So it's one of those things where I tell myself, is it really that adorable? Is it really what I think it is? And trust me, this dog is absolutely adorable. I'm going to put a picture up on the stream right now to show people. If you're not watching the live stream, you can check it over on YouTube. So I'm going to share my screen while I talk about this particular dog. This dog, his name is Wink, and Wink is absolutely adorable. It's a Chihuahua. First off, can I just say I'm not a Chihuahua fan? Not at all. Don't think Chihuahuas are usually a good dog because they're usually quite aggressive. I've been bitten many times by Chihuahuas. In fact, Kate used to have a Chihuahua. I don't think I ever petted him because you couldn't. He would just literally snap at you every time. So she tells me, she says, hey, there's a Chihuahua that's online. It's at the shelter. It's in a foster home, and it only has one eye. I'm like, what? And it literally only has one eye. Not a birth defect, by the way. Sadly enough, this eye was taken in the shelter when it got into a fight with another dog. They couldn't save the eye.
Yeah.
Which is a terrible way to live your life. Oh, my goodness.
Did the other dog hopefully not get adopted?
I don't know. I don't know what they did.
Violent dogs shouldn't be.
No. Yeah. I mean, especially that. It might just be that they don't like other dogs, but still, you got to watch out for that one. But especially because she went and met the dog. And so I thought, she goes, it's house trained. It's, adorable. She took the kids loved it. I think she's selling me this dog, that I'm going to get home and this dog's going to pee all over the place and bite everything and destroy the whole house and going to be a jerk. It's one of those things where you're not sure you can trust, a person when it comes to pets, that they're actually going to pick a good pet. Well, her dog recently passed away. She wasn't sure if she wants to get a new dog right away. I've got Landon. Landon, my dog, is going on 18 years old. He's old. He's an awesome dog, though. I mean, the best dog you could possibly imagine. 17 years I've been with him, and he has been top notch.
He's a cool dog.
Yeah. So, anyways, we got to bring in this other dog, and I'm thinking, oh man, what if this dog's mean and aggressive and doesn't, I don't want Landon's last years of life to be annoyed by this damn dog. And so, anyways, what we do is we go ahead and we we get him. She gets him. I don't meet the dog yet. All right. I come into the house and I see this dog, and it runs up to me, and I think I instantly fell in love. This dog was the coolest, nicest dog. Just, I mean, a ball of love. Licks your face, just wants to hug you, wants to cuddle you, recognizes when you don't, want to cuddle him, and he'll go and lay in his little bed and snuggle up with you at night. House trained, doesn't go in the house, just wants to go outside, gets so excited when he sees you. It's just a perfect dog. I really am looking for things that are wrong with this dog, and I can't find them. And it's kind of a cool thing. It came into her life right at the right time because she was devastated by the loss of her other dog, and this one
Correct.
is a he's a puppy. He's a year old, and so she's gonna get hopefully a long life with this dog, and the kids love him, and he plays so well with the kids. Like, he just wants to play, and he knows how to fetch. He knows how to, go outside. We walk him on a leash. The dog pays attention to you. It's just a weird thing, man. I feel bad for whoever lost him. I don't know if they lost him, abandoned him, or what the story was. They don't really give you a backstory on them.
There's people that just don't care.
Unfortunately, you're right.
It sucks. They'll just go and, throw a dog off on the side of the road, or a cat or whatever. See, I'm more of a cat guy. I mean, I like dogs too, don't get me wrong. And I got to get used to the fact that there's Angelina's 2 dogs, which is part Chihuahua. They're good dogs. I mean, they're really nice. They're not aggressive. They bark annoyingly sometimes. But and my cat is he's an alpha. That's why he has feline AIDS, because he fought every cat in the neighborhood.
Yeah. I didn't even know that was a thing till you told me. But
I know. And so he's got good health and everything. But I know, and I keep trying to tell Angelina, you need to start bringing them dogs over one at a time, because Buddy needs to get used to them.
They're going to live together, right?
Yeah. See, the kids, this is the funny thing. The kids have been around Buddy. Buddy's starting to warm up to him a little bit, but it's so funny because they'll try to reach to pet him, and he'll just slap their hand out of the way, like, I'm not ready for you to pet me yet. But then when I said, guys, cats are different than dogs. They allow you into their lives. A dog's like ready for you to be in his life.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to come into your life. Cat's like, this is my life.
You have to earn it.
This is now my home. And so I'm getting ready. And I keep trying to warn Angelina. I said, don't get mad when Buddy, when you hear your dog go, burr, I was like, because Buddy's probably going to give him a little rap on the beak if he gets too close or barks too loud. But that's my dream, is to have a harmony and peace with animals.
Right.
I come home and I see the dogs and cat on the couch, and they're all hanging out and watching.
You'd be Ace Ventura with
exactly
animals all around. Oh,
Yeah.
That'd be cool, man. I love my dog, so I'm anxious to see, because he has not met him yet, and I'm envisioning a Chance and Shadow. Kind of, the young, promiscuous. Oh, buddy, don't do that.
Because I remember when your dog got integrated with Buster. The sheriff, the alpha Shih Tzu that belongs to Mike Lee.
Right.
And I always was like, I don't know how that's going to work. But then I saw how it worked, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. They get along pretty good.
Landon's a good dog, man.
Yeah, he's a go with the flow kind of dog.
Very much.
He always has been.
Did you ever have to bring it back to teaching, did you ever have classroom pets?
We did at the dropout recovery school I went to. We had a hedgehog.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, you have to be very gentle and very careful.
That's pretty dangerous to bring into a classroom with kids,
Yeah, well, I mean, we're all high school dropouts, going back to get our diplomas, not GED. So, I mean, it's like, hey, this is what, like, I think it was the whole thing was a metaphor to what it would be like, hey, but here's the cool thing is growing up in a rural Texas, there was always like a show and tell. Like, there was literally this girl, and I remember being in elementary school. She had like 3 chimpanzees. She lived down at the lake, and
Oh, cool.
and she brought them up to the school during recess, and they were out there. These chimpanzees were out there playing on the jungle gym with us, the unsafe jungle gym.
That's pretty neat,
And
but
then,
also terrifying, because
know,
if
and
they
see-
snap, they could rip your face
I
off.
know. That's what I look back, hindsight 2020, and I'm like, dude, there could have been some really maimed kids, but they were cool, you know. Like I remember it jumping up on me and then just holding on to me, and it looked at me and went, you know, doing that little, you know, thing
Oh,
at
that'd be
me.
so cool, though.
And I was like, and then it jumped off of me. And I remember when it jumped off of me, it kind of, you know, kicked
Pushed.
me in the rig, because it did like a full backflip.
And you're like, he's got some strength.
Yeah.
Those things have some.
But it wasn't, I mean, I was 4th grade or 3rd grade. I think I was in 4th or 5th
Hanging out there
grade,
with 4th graders.
you know, and it was still smaller than me, but it would, you know,
Mhm.
it was doing, and it was, they would go up there, it was hanging on the thing, and we would go across the monkey bars, and it jumped up there and did
Monkey
2. And I
bar.
was like, wow, I was like, they have longer arms than us kids.
Yeah.
But I remember that. And I remember, you know, everybody had, you know, cattle, goats, and everything. So every once in a while, you'd have somebody in 4-H like, I'm bringing my goat by for show and tell. And the teacher's like, well, let's do it out in the yard. You know,
used to have a lot of animals in schools, like in terms of
Yeah.
class pets and things. You just don't see that anymore. I mean, I remember growing up, I had teachers that had snakes.
Yeah.
I think there'd be somebody complain about that, you know, and then you kind of worry about, oh, you know, let's get a little rabbit. And then you got one kid going, I have allergies and I don't want to, I can't. And my kid can't be in your class. He's triggered by guinea pigs. You know, you kind of got that where you can't anymore.
Or
It's just not a thing. But I remember class pets used to be a pretty big deal. I never had fish, never had teacher with fish. There was a few that had like a hamster. There was one that I knew that had a snake. There was another teacher that I knew that had a tarantula. They were a science teacher.
a tarantula. Yes.
Yeah. And the tarantula was pretty cool, but we couldn't touch it or anything like that. And they would never feed it. It was never a traumatizing thing. It was just always a, hey, I have a spider in my class. There it is. And we would always look at it and be like, oh, look, it's moving, you know? And I don't know. I just thought it was kind of a neat thing. It also was a good instruction for kids on how to treat animals and how to feed and care and maintain. Because there was some that you would, you know, you'd be assigned, oh, I'm cleaning out the water today. And you would clean out the water and you'd see this living thing, you know, drinking the water that you provided. And it was kind of a cool learning tool for kids. They just don't do that anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I did have a science teacher in junior high, and I think I've discussed this many times, how he had fish aquarium.
Oh, yeah.
And I continuously would sometimes bring in Alka-Seltzer.
Oh, my
and
gosh.
The fish never died, but I guarantee you they were, after all
that you know of.
Like there would be erasers and stuff just floating in there. And I know, man, I look back and I'm like, God, I'm such a jerk. But
That's
man,
a terrible idea.
I wasn't the only one. Somebody came into class and like, the water's very murky. And
or mercury.
and somebody actually had gotten chalk from the chalkboard, just threw it in there in another class. I was like, but you still saw the fish.
Maybe that's why we
around.
don't have pets anymore. Somebody throws chalk in there for the gerbil to nibble on, and suddenly, you know, you got a sick pet. That's not fun.
Yeah.
There was some big ones though. I never had one, but I remember a teacher did have a giant, like one of those big pythons. And I just remember that cage when I would walk past the classroom, I'd look in and see the cage and the pythons in there. And it was just kind of a cool thing, but I don't even know what kind of hoops you would have to jump through to get something like that nowadays. Yeah. You know, it's interesting because there used to be so much extra in the class and now there's not. You know, and what I mean by extra is like you would have that teacher that have a little garden outside that they would tend to, and it's math. You know, but you're going outside, you're tending to flowers, you know, a little bit of, 5 minutes of class time. And, you know, you have teachers that would kind of have these pet projects, whether it was pets or things that they would do in class that were different from what was actually in class. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know. We missed that. We missed that. So,
yeah. I'm being, like I said, being in Texas, there was all about the 4-H and, I'm raising a steer, or, I'm doing this, or a lamb or a pig, or, whatever. And sometimes you had to do those field trips, and I'm just like, I see all these animals all the time. Why am I going to see? And then you would have the one girl who's like, I'm so proud. My grand steer is I'm gonna get 35,000, and it's such a good, well maintained. I'm like, that's gonna be cut up and made into hamburger. No, it's not. And I'm like, yeah, it is.
They don't realize, but yeah, 4-H and ag and things like that are a little bit of eye-opening.
I was like, unless there's a spider spelling stuff out above it, I was like, you're gonna keep this,
right? Yeah. All right, guys. Now I do want to tell you all before we go into the teachers and the news. There's a lot of teachers out there, and I say it over and over again. You want to see change. I don't know. You want the pets back in the classroom. You want things, pet projects back in the teachers' lives and the students' lives. You want to change the dynamic of the classroom, and maybe you can't do that yourself, but you go ahead and say, you know what? Maybe I can if I become an administrator. And I strongly suggest teachers look into administrative roles. Obviously, more money, a little bit of a different schedule, different, you're out of the classroom. You can make the impact that you've been wanting to see on your school or another school. There's a lot of positions open. And gmercyu University offers the online path to making that happen because, you're busy. You're a teacher. You say, I can't go to school. Guess what? Pop open the laptop. You can begin your career next career step right away. They are ranked as one of the top schools in the country for social mobility. They've been providing education for over 70 years. This isn't one of those pop-up online. Right. This is a dedicated, established university. They offer right now for teachers a Master of Science in Educational Administration, and it has a dual certification. So you get certified in both K-12 principal certification and Supervisor of Curriculum and Instruction certification. So you're opening 2 doors for a potential new career opportunity, fully online, and can be completed in as little as 2 years. And then there is a doctorate of education with 4 concentration offers available. It is award-winning. It's online. It can be completed in under 3 years and has a 3-year graduation rate that is 1,000% higher than the national average. And of course, everybody's concerned when you go for a doctorate about the dissertation. The dissertation support is from day one. That is gmercyu University. You can check it out online. Beautiful website, tells you all about admissions, aid, all the stuff that you're going to need in order to sign up. And you can find out more at gmercyu.edu. That's gmercyu.edu. And go ahead and sign up, check it out. And maybe you can become an administrator and make all those changes that you've been wanting to see in the school system. All right, let's go in now to the teachers in the news.
From classrooms to chaos, we searched high and low for the craziest teacher stories this week. Here are your teachers in the news.
All right. I want to start off on a positive note because I think that this one is a fantastic story. I, over the pandemic, developed a kind of fascination with shoes. If you came into my house, you would go, what? You haven't been in my house in a while, but if you came into my house, you would go, wow, Devin, you have a lot of shoes.
I've noticed you wearing them.
Yeah, I've even got a few different pairs around here.
But you still don't have any golf shoes,
well,
dude.
These are just regular, scrub shoes. I did some hiking today, but there's a 5th grade teacher in Dallas, Texas.
There we go.
And apparently this 5th grader didn't have the best of shoes. Now, apparently, this particular teacher teaches history and geography, and he's a sneakerhead, as they would call themselves. And he said that when students walk in the door, he just looks at their shoes. He's obsessed with shoes. He's oh man, those are the cool. That's the new release. But also, he noticed that a particular student had the sole falling off of her shoe. And he said, you know what, that's not good. We need to, he remembered when he was in school, he used to get made fun of for not having up-to-date shoes. And so he went ahead and decided to raise some money and got over the money to afford 150 pairs of shoes and started giving them to students that needed them and that wanted a little bit better of a shoe, that couldn't afford that shoe, and decided that he had so much success, enjoyed giving out the shoes so much, he formed his own nonprofit. It is called PASOS, and I butcher Spanish terms, but Pasos, I'm guessing, for Oak Cliff. Pasos means steps in Spanish. and they have collected and given out over 1,000 pairs of shoes so
Man.
far to students that are in need. So he said that he sees a massive improvement in confidence, grades, and self-esteem of all the kids that are wearing these new shoes. He's still teaching. If you want to donate, it is PASOS4OC.org, and you can donate there if you want to help him out. But pretty cool, that's you see a need, you fill it, and teachers are notoriously good at that stuff.
Well, I'd say this: any of my Texas listeners out there, y'all definitely jump on that, man. That's something amazing. It strikes home, man, when I hear my home state doing something really good like that.
Great. Now, Akron, Ohio, we're seeing this is just a story out of Akron, but I'm getting a lot of teachers that are sending me more and more of these, and I didn't really think it was that big of an issue until I just started seeing just endless. And then we had, I don't know if you saw the teacher that was murdered. Yeah. A teacher that was murdered by two of her students this past week. Horrible, and apparently that might have been about grades. But we have in Akron, there's a culinary professor, a culinary arts teacher, and she was a second-year teacher at the school, and she was testifying about the violence. Apparently there's a lot of growing violence towards teachers within the schools. The students are becoming way more hostile than before. Obviously before it was kind of geared towards each other. I'd see a lot of, fights between students, but apparently they're coming after the kids. I've had some students say some pretty brazen things to me, but this one is a second-year teacher. She was punched in the face multiple times 2 weeks ago, suffered a broken nose, and apparently says she is not considering leaving her position as a teacher, but wants to lend her voice to the growing dissent of Akron teachers who are raising concern about safety and student behaviors. Apparently, there is a alarm being sounded over spikes in student violence, guns being brought to class, fights and assaults on teachers, and they want it brought to the forefront. And let me tell you right now, I have seen a lot of articles and people sending me stories now. I can't really talk about stories that teachers send me. Teachers send me stuff in confidence. They go, "This is what's happening at my school. I don't want you to say anything." And let me tell you, though, there's a lot of violence, a lot of violence happening. And, I don't know what's causing it. We could attribute it to the pandemic. We could attribute it to parent behavior. We could attribute it to social media.
It's simple. I have a theory. Mm-hmm. When they took the spankings out of school and told parents they can't spank their kids anymore, this next generation, I'm sorry, that's just.
But see, there's a lot of science that would disagree with you.
There's a lot that would, and there's a lot that would back me up on it.
It seems there's science that disagrees, but there's parents that agree. And a lot of people go, "Well, when I was younger, this happened, and this is the way I was." But there's also a lot of people that say, "Well, when I was younger, this happened and I turned out terribly, right. Or I have physical aggressions towards my own children," and that's not good stuff.
But it's the fact that it's not so much the spanking, but it's the respect that came with the spanking. It was the fear of getting in trouble.
I think you're attributing spanking to consequences. I think that we're kind of grouping that as the only particular. I think consequences in total have gone down. Kids don't see results of what's, they're not being held back anymore. They're not seeing discipline from deans. Parents aren't getting on their kids as much, not necessarily spankings, but just any sort of discipline of, hey, let's not do that. This is how parents just, sometimes I've seen it, you call up a parent, you say, "Hey, this kid, did this in my class," and they go, well, what are you gonna do? And I'm like, it's like, no, it's not. Yeah, well, what are you gonna do? It's what are you gonna do? Because you're the parent. Take away their phone. I mean, I've literally seen students that get suspended for phone use and then come back the next day with a phone from their suspension. And I, as a parent myself, I would never allow that to happen. Right. If you were suspended because of use of the phone, guess what you lose? The phone. I don't have to spank you, but there's consequences that need to be handed down.
There's no accountability for this either. That here's the thing is, I'll just throw it out there. If I got a spanking at school, which I could probably tell you is maybe 4 times in my entire.
You were kind of right on the edge. I didn't have that, but you were. But then again,
they
it's
stopped
Texas.
it. They stopped it
It's
right
Texas.
when
They
I
stopped it last month.
they stopped the spankings in school. I believe when I was in high school, they kind of started fading it out.
Right.
But I still got a swat in high school from my coach because I talked back to him in front of the players.
And
he was, and guess what? When I got home, I got one from my dad, and I'm like, dude, I'm 14. He goes, yeah, you're still old enough for me to whoop your butt. If I got a spanking at school, I got one at home.
Mm-hmm.
And
trust me, there are people that agree with you 100,000%. Then I will tell you right now, there are also people that are going to message you going, you're wrong. And
that's fine. But you know what? It's like you said, if we're going to take away the spankings, we still need to keep that same level of, you did this is what's going to happen,
mm-hmm.
a cause and effect.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not going to be spanking, you've got to stick to your guns and not give in and be like, well, I went and gave him his tablet back a day early.
Right.
Like that's not happening. And
yeah. Well, that's just sometimes parents give tablets back a day early not because their kid deserved it, but because they want to get their kid out of their hair.
Yeah.
And that's the problem that I will say this. I do not spank my kids. I love my kids to death, but
your kids are very well mannered.
It doesn't mean if you spank them, you don't love them, but my kids are very well behaved, but that's because I exercise discipline in different ways. They know when they are acting up. They will get consequences from acting up, and they know, that there are rewards for being good. And, every day they get into my car and I say, what are we looking at? We got smiley faces, because they get smiley faces from their teachers for good behavior. Smiley faces is smiley face. When they get in the car and know they do not have a smiley face, their demeanor has already changed when they enter. I know before I ask, but it's because they know that I'm going to come down hard on them and there's going to be consequences. They're not going to be able to play a video game. They're not going to go outside. They're going to have to watch me and the brother play, while they sit on the chair, and realize that they need to do better. So, but the thing that I'll tell you right now is that takes effort. And a lot of parents out there are not willing to put forth the effort.
Exactly.
And so it's kind of coming into the school system where the teachers are the ones going, hey, do your homework. And the kids are going, or what? Because they have never had the or what.
Okay. Or you get out of my class. Like, that's my thing.
But that's the thing, is we've run out of those options. As teachers, a lot of times we don't have those options. It's funny, but when I first started, I would have students disrupt my class and I'd say, leave, go to the dean's office right now. You're disrupting my class. And they would leave and go to the dean's office and face some sort of punishment. Now it's literally the deans would come back to the class with the student and go, why'd you send them out? I said, they were disrupting my class. And it's like, no. That's not how this works. I have the upper hand. Now you're taking away my power within the classroom.
Exactly.
And we would have a lot of that. All right, next one. This is a little interesting. Okay. I don't know what to say about this. This is in Niceville, Florida, which I've been through Niceville, Florida.
Yeah, I have too.
It's actually a pretty nice area. Yeah. But a sheriff's investigation, apparently this teacher was put on leave and being basically judged for showing a 15-year-old girl in a college level course the movie Alexander, which is R-rated and has very suggestive scenes in it.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Now, here's the interesting thing.
Not a bad movie.
The sheriff has investigated and said that they are not bringing any charges to the teacher, and determined that the teacher had legitimate reason to show it to the class, which is a college-level classical studies course. And apparently the teacher made substantial steps to limit this. They would only show some clips. They would only show the Netflix-friendly family version. Apparently, when that version went away, the teacher was concerned and knew that the class couldn't view the entire movie. Apparently prefaced it that this is, a movie that has issues with it. Well, the students chose to then do it on their own and watch the suggestive scenes. Apparently, they watched it in a school hallway and used the 15-year-old's laptop because it worked better than the school computers. I thought that was a funny line. And apparently the girl I guess had access to a password to access the movie from home that had been given by the teacher, but that she expressly said, don't watch this. This is not the movie that we're just watching clips. And they determined that the kid brought it on herself, you know, and basically watched the movie on their own time at home, and then complained to the parents that this was assigned and it wasn't, and the story was kind of convoluted. So hopefully that teacher did not receive any repercussions. I don't know what what happened, but the sheriff's office cleared them of all charges. Good.
Yeah, that's good.
All right. Last thing I want to say, we do have a teacher that is turning a passion into a profession. Another one. It's and that's why I will say, I think that out of the pandemic, one of the few things that we can look at as a positive is there's a lot of teachers out there that had downtime to pursue their passions, through the lockdowns and stuff, and look at other careers. There's a lot of teachers that said, you know what, maybe what else can I do? And hopefully you choose to go to gmercyu University and become an administrator.
Right.
But,
and make a difference.
Some of you are choosing to pursue outside passions and courses, and that's fine. But there was a teacher that started his own photography business, which is pretty cool. Now, I do want to give a little, this is the last thing I want to talk about. That's teachers in the news, but also kind of leading into the last question I have for you. All right. You lost some weight. How many pounds?
I'm at 51 now.
51 pounds. Now, did you gain weight?
What, are you going to give me a round of applause on that?
Yeah, hold on. I'll give you a round of applause. Why not? Let's do the applause. Hey.
For a safe and secure society.
Now, did
Palpatine.
Did you gain weight during the pandemic?
Well, I have a joke about that on stage.
Well, a lot of people did, but did you?
Yeah, I mean, I saw 2,000 people plus a week, and I never caught the coronavirus.
Right.
But I did catch diabetes type 2.
And you gained some weight. I saw some old photos of us playing golf, and I was like, dude, he did lose quite a bit. You don't really realize it, because I see you almost every week, so you don't really realize how much.
Until you look back at those old photos, and I was like, holy, like, I'm telling you, dude, I was a size 38. I was almost a 40.
Well,
I was getting close.
Yeah. So here's the thing that I wanted to bring up. Teachers in the News has an elementary physical education instructor in Connecticut.
Not a gym teacher.
No, physical education. And apparently they are starting to see a trend. And I've seen this from a lot of PE teachers that have said that this is a trend as well. The pandemic not only affected us as adults, but it affected the children as well. Apparently, one lap into their typical mile, many of the students were winded and walking, and these are kids. Yeah. These are children. And apparently the teacher has been tracking the mileage and said that it is down substantially. Apparently, these, kids have not had a lot of exercise the past 18 months. I did not know this, but this is a really serious statistic. Yeah, apparently.
Is there a helicopter?
There is a helicopter coming in, apparently landing on our building right now. All right, so this is the full impact of the pandemic on kids' health.
I think it's a pressure sprayer.
Oh, really? Maybe they're washing the. That's good. We always choose the best time to record.
Washing my window.
All right, so let's battle through this. So apparently, these third graders, they've struggled and they're not doing well. The running is down, the physical, everything is down. She's tried to reward them with Pokemon cards when they hit certain targets, really trying to push this, but students are not bouncing back quite that fast. This is a crazy statistic. The rates of overweight and obesity in children ages 5 through 11 rose 10% in 2020. 10%.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I mean, that, and it's not a good statistic. It's a terrible statistic.
Yeah.
But 10%, do you realize how many kids that has to be? I mean, my kids, we stayed active, but we actually saw it as a really cool opportunity. During COVID, we went outside. I thought it was kind of really utopian because there's a big open field behind my apartment. And during the pandemic, everybody would go outside every afternoon, every evening, because we were all locked down, and it was a great way to get outside. We were flying kites, and we stayed away from everybody. Everybody kind of kept their distance. You got to, you don't know enough about the virus at that point. But everybody was outside playing soccer. There was a guy, and I wish I still go outside with my kids. We're the only ones. I kind of feel bad.
What about the disc golf guys? He's
not out there anymore. Nobody's out there anymore, just us. But it was a weird time where the entire community was using this as like their little park. And slowly people started to go away. Not my kids. My kids were out there every day. As soon as we get home from school, we go out, we walk my dog, and we throw planes and play baseball. And, I push for the active. And but apparently a lot of teachers haven't. And they said that in her 20 years, she's never seen students struggle as much as they are today. That they have, and it's also
PE. And we had to run at least, I want to say it was a quarter of a mile, and you had to do it. Like, of course, there were people that couldn't jog as good, but I mean, that was your exercise. And the coach would be out there whistling, come on, pick it up. And I know now, I go back to that and I look and I'm like, that's why. Mm-hmm. But where we failed? When you walk down the cereal aisle, bro, I say this in my stand up. I say this every day. Like, oh my God. I said, look at this. They have an oatmeal cream pie cereal, a cupcake cereal.
There's a lot of sugar out there for kids.
It's so horrible, dude. Back in the day, dude. And it's on my segment, Made in America, by the way. Tune in, subscribe. Mm-hmm. It's really good. But back in the day, you just had like maybe 6 or 7 basic ones.
Yeah. And then it was Cheerios, Rice Krispies, low sugar,
Lucky Charms. There was a few, and now it's like, I don't even see Grape Nuts anymore on, you have to like kind of order that on Amazon.
And it's $12 for 2 bowls.
They used to have they have frosted mini wheats, but then they also used to just have mini wheats that weren't frosted. They don't have those anymore.
Let's say, but the diet's been a consistent problem. Though usually kids have a lot of energy and they want to work out. I couldn't believe, but I was looking at somebody the other day. It was a teacher that posted on Facebook, and the teacher said a parent was mad because apparently PE is every other day. And this is like at a lower kids level, like a elementary school,
like a block schedule, or
no, it's just every other day they have it. And I think honestly, the parent has a point.
Yeah,
these kids got to get out, and they got to be, and the number one thing is, and this is true. It says it right in the article, but you already know this too. Daily running breaks will boost attentiveness, which has a positive effect on academics. When my students are physically active, they have a much better attentive. When I'm physically active, like I'm tired when I don't run or do anything physical. My physicalness has kind of gone down lately. I'm taking more naps. I find it, I'm looking in front of my computer and I'm finding it harder to concentrate. But man, when I work out in the morning, I come to the office and I feel great. And I'm like, done, knocking this stuff out.
A body in motion stays in motion.
I've never heard that.
Yeah, it was this old commercial, man. It always stuck with me. I was like, oh, a body at rest, but stay at rest.
Teachers are not battling back on this. They need to we need to have physical stuff happening in the class. Get these kids out of their seats. If I were teaching right now, I would take the first 10 minutes of class and do some physical activity. Take them outside, walk them around a few times. Beautiful day, and then come back up to the classroom. And you may get some, hey, what are you doing? Well, I'm doing science. I'm going with what science says, that my students are going to pay better attention if we use this 5 and 10 minutes in the beginning class to get some exercise.
I had teachers
do some
that did
jumping
that.
jacks, do some bending, do some yoga, do some things like that in the class. Get them exercise, because honestly, it's gonna help the instruction in your class.
Yeah, I had cool teachers in elementary that, like, if we had those long, like, oh, we got testing going on or whatever, they'd be like, all right, everybody get up right now. And okay, let's do little circles, big circles with our arms.
Yeah.
And like, hey, let's go take a walk, everybody. And we would just literally just walk the perimeter of the campus and then come back in and like, all right, now everybody, let's get back to studying.
But it shouldn't be on the teacher. Let me also say that we should have a substantial amount of school time dedicated to physical activity, whether it be PE or music where they're singing and moving, and art where they're creating and physically being, active in their seats with painting and stuff like that. To be honest with you, we're concentrating too much on putting them into the default classroom when it needs to be such a small percentage of their day.
Right.
The default classroom needs to be 50% of the day. I think the other 50% should be exploring extra stuff and getting moving and having physical activity and running a mile on the track and playing basketball. Sports are drastically underrated at this time, and they're a great outlet for kids.
But at the same time, that 1%, whenever it's raining and you can't do nothing, they've got to bring back Oregon Trail. They've got to bring it back.
I would argue, and I don't know if there's statistics behind it, but I would argue that the effectiveness of a teacher is exactly the same if you had 6 hours in a row of instruction versus 3 hours of physical activity and 3 hours of instruction. I think in those 3 hours, I could get more done than the 6 hours of just keeping them in class.
Or
and
you bring a
Keurig
to your classroom and be like, all right, everybody, I've got $20 worth of coffee here. Let's do this.
Right. That's true too. I didn't think about that, but all right. Anyways, be sure to check out devncomedy.com for upcoming tour dates. Also, merch is available on there. I only have a few more shirts left. They are in hand, ready to ship. Some people have ordered in the past. It took a little while because, to be honest with you, merchandise takes a little while to get right now. But they're in hand, ready. I've got the exact sizes and exact totals on there, so you're not going to have to wait. If you get one, you'll get it immediately. Devin Comedy, like I said, for upcoming tour dates, and patreon.com/cryinginmycar for all the bonus content. Greg, what do you got?
I've got a couple of shows coming up at the end of the month in Winter Park for Bonkers Comedy. Also, I have new episodes of Made in America coming out. And if you still have not checked out the episode with
The U.S. Marshal.
U.S. Marshal Tim Conrad, please just go on there and listen to. This guy was amazing, and
I was part of that episode. Fantastic episode.
Yeah, and we're gonna bring him back because he had a good time, and he was like, "Wow, that was cool." And he gave me feedback. His boss in Pennsylvania got to check it out, and he was like, "Did I cross any lines?" He's like, "No, you didn't give out any case information." So a lot of the stuff he can talk about.
That's cool.
And thank you so much for all that have subscribed.
I'm glad that worked out for us, because I don't want to know what would have happened if he did cross the line. Just open up.
But he even said he'd love to come back on the show and tell stories about the times that he worked with Steven Seagal.
Yeah,
and a lot of people don't know Steven Seagal was in law enforcement, and he was like, "Wow, you're Steven Seagal."
I just want to hear the stories of him working with Shaq.
I know
Shaq's in law enforcement too. So, all right, guys, thank you so much for tuning into this week's Crying in My Car, a podcast for teachers. We'll be back next week.
Be sure to subscribe and rate this podcast 5 stars. Submit all your awesome teacher stories to cryinginmycar@gmail.com. And check out Devin on tour. Info and merch can be found at devincomedy.com. Support the podcast on patreon.com/cryinginmycar and get exclusive weekly bonus episodes. And tune in every week for more hilarious stress relief for teachers right here on Crying in My Car, a podcast for teachers.